No matter how full my closet gets, I swear I have nothing that I want to wear, which is why I'm super grateful for Armoire, because with their clothing rental membership, I get to have access to high quality, unique brands tailored just for me. All I had to do was take a 5-minute style quiz, and it was scary accurate with how much they knew my style, and by some kind of magic, it was delivered at my door within 2 days. If I want to try something new or swap out styles, I just send it. No laundry required. Best thing. Armoire is great for so many reasons. It can help define your personal style. It's super spot on. And also it's sustainable because I don't have to feel bad about if I wear an outfit one time and I just want to try something new. I can rent things, try them out, and keep swapping and not have to worry about waste. Plus, you're always going to have something to wear without hassle or clutter in your closet, which is what I really relate to. And no matter what occasion you have, whether it's a date or a work conference or a black tie event, you'll be the best dressed person in the room without even stepping a foot into the fitting room. This is fantastic because I've literally bought an entire outfit before just to go to one party. Armoire can also help if your body is changing, whether that's a fitness journey or during pregnancy. I know I've recommended this to a lot of the new moms that I know in my life, because your body's changing and you want to feel great and amazing. And one of my favorite things is that Armoire is women owned and led. They even spotlight women owned designers on their website. Right now, our listeners can give Armoire a try and get up to 50% off their first month. That is up to $125 off. Just visit armoire.style/book talk. That's Armoire, ARMOIRE.style/book talk, BOOKTALK, to get 50% off your first month.
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay, with experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
Welcome to Book Talk for Book Talk with Jac and Amy, a literary podcast where we deep dive into the writings of your favorite novels. This spring, we are hosting a book club while we prepare for our 10-part literary analysis of Sarah J. Maas's Crown of Midnight.
This is Jac.
And I'm Amy.
And each week we'll discuss one book from our spring book club roster. By using our literary background, we'll provide our flash analysis of each book, as well as discuss listener thoughts.
This is part 2 of this week's episode, where we're discussing Quicksilver by Calie Hart. Someone said they hated this book.
Yeah. I'm going to read two things. Okay, before I get into another comment, I just want to point out, I love when our listeners kind of use some of the things that we talked about in the past and they bring it in. And this listener said, Jane, Kingfisher just loaded up Saris's plate, and I muttered, because food is power, to myself on the train. This is the real estate you Mavericks occupy in my brain.
I did notice that too.
I did too. Yeah.
I did notice that too. But that is during a period of time where he's also commanding her to do things without her consent. And that changes.
It's also, it does change. And she's able to take charge of her own self. Mm-hmm. But then but food is used so much, right? Because you have Kingfisher who is loading up her plate. You have to eat and everything. And it's a sign that he cares about her, but without showing that he cares about her. But then there's also the, what we love to talk about is the power dynamics and the fact that Kingfisher has all the power of her safety, of her home, of her food, of her returning back to her home. Mm-hmm. He is in the oppressor position.
Yeah.
At the beginning.
Yeah.
Which is why it's beautiful that they work through it and it ends up not being the case. But then you have the moment between Saris and Carrion who are going back and forth with their quiche. That's a cake. It's not cake, it's quiche. Which is hilarious. And, and then Kingfisher not liking that.
Yeah.
There's the food is power moment is definitely there, which I was like, oh, I see you, Callie. I see what you're doing. Okay, so here is Another comment. This book gave me hope, then squashed it. I didn't like the book, but listened anyway. The beginning bit in her home had me hooked and I really liked it, but once she went to the Fae world, it quickly unraveled. Everything was too extreme in terms of writing. The amount of times shoved was used inappropriately, like shoving his pants down, felt fumbling and immature. I want to say he even shoves inside of her or something. I also am haunted by, quote, I can smell the sweet nectar you're making for me. Just too much. The plot, question mark, what to even say, feels like we're making it up as we go. All right, that's a... I don't know if any man could be down there and say nectar and I could keep it with a straight face. I don't know.
Fair.
I appreciate that he wants to eat her out without soap and water, but, you know.
It's also on theme with the butterfly theme, though.
Yeah. It is! Oh!
That's why I'm not bothered. But, I mean, it is kind of nasty in the sense that I would never say that to my partner. However, it makes sense in this idea of this butterfly that Sarah's has no understanding of.
Yep.
He does.
Yeah. So that, good point. Good point. Now, to their other points, I didn't pick up on shove as much. Like, sometimes we have one word and we just kind of like see it.
Latch on.
We see it. And even as like when Amy and I talk on like the first season, we caught ourselves saying interesting all the time. Every season is a new word for us. I think yours right now is yeah, and yeah. I start all my sentences that way. Or what was it? Last season was I agree. You're like, I need to stop saying that. I'm like, or not. You could just keep agreeing with me.
That's fair.
Yeah. So like, I didn't pick up on shove all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Could she have done that? Possibly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely, I understand like, word and coming back to it. And if I had picked that up, I probably would feel the same way, but that's hilarious. Now, I think we did talk about the plot and making it up as it goes. I think that's also another general consensus is that like the meandering, the, kind of like feeling like all over the place. You and I have talked about it. I feel like it's all within purpose. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it reminds me of, and not in a bad way, but it reminds me of A Court of Wings and Ruin. It reminds me of Crescent City. It meanders with purpose. Yeah. And the first time you read it, I think you're going to be annoyed because you don't know where it goes. But I could see how a reread would be super, super entertaining.
Yeah. I read this book 2 months ago. I was just as enthralled with it this time. Mm-hmm. I was just as like, ooh, is this where we're going? Oh, like, I forgot that this happened. Mm-hmm. I think when we break it up, kind of like what we were talking about, like in the classic book structure, I get it. Like, I understand the, like, would I have had Lane's kidnapping happen sooner? No. Like, when I think about it, no. But like, when you look at a book classically in the sense of what you would expect it to happen much sooner. I myself I think you'd lose so much if it happened sooner.
Yeah. So I think of books often in terms of how do I put this? I often compare book structures to how Harry Potter books were structured, the first 6.
Yeah.
And that's because Harry Potter was kind of formative in my understanding of storytelling and loving storytelling. But the fall term is always meandering. They just happen to be in a school.
Yeah.
That provides structure, right? But they don't know what they're doing. And the problems don't really become problems until the spring semester. And then the climax is always at the end of the year. Yeah. It's no different. It is no different.
I think that's a great example because, we always talk about SJM being, the last 20%, and we kind of harp on that, but let's look at in general, like, what do we not give other books enough credit, for doing that last 20%? If you can keep me paying attention, that's what Harry Potter did, right? Note to everyone, we recognize that J.K. Rowling sucks. We do not support her. We do not associate with her. We are talking about the books itself, which was a formative time. Again, if for whatever reason we get new listeners. Hey,
yeah, I understand.
I think Harry Potter is a great example that in the fall semester, it was meandering, but all the clues you got and that semester came back later.
Always mattered.
Always mattered.
The only difference is Dumbledore was there at the end of the year to tell you how it was all connected.
Until he wasn't.
Oh.
I mean, and I think that is a really good example of this book too, where yeah, it might have that fall semester, but all this stuff that you're getting there and all the information is going to matter in the end. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that in this book I would normally be annoyed at, but I'm not.
Because I think if the ending and that last 20% were not so satisfying and how it brought everything back together,
yes.
If it had failed to deliver, then you would be annoyed with the book.
Exactly, but it didn't fail to deliver, and it makes you realize, oh, wait, all of this had a point. Then I'm able to say, well, I'm walking away with good feelings, because then I could be like, Carrion was the prince the whole time, you know, or like fate was fucking with them the whole time.
Yeah.
His mom wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
A man decided that he could do better.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, you can talk about like the god, like again, guys, there's so much to this. You can talk about, you know, the god of chaos controlling his daughters and not letting them have sex until he decides someone's worthy enough for it. And the fact that they're so trapped within their world that the first thing they ask a human is, what's sex like with Kingfisher? Mm-hmm. Talk about being repressed by, you know, doesn't matter if he's a god, by another man.
Yeah. At the end of the day, is he not the ultimate evil?
Yeah.
The god of chaos. He is the ultimate evil.
Yeah. Because I mean, we saw genocide happen right then and there.
Right. And he takes away choice.
Yep.
He doesn't allow people choices.
Another moment of consent. What's the consent's gone?
Yep. He thinks he is better. And I just love all the layers of men taking away consent from other people.
Yes.
Male or female.
Yeah, absolutely. I do love the layers. I mean, the themes within this book, I would say, would be the layers of consent mixed with colonization.
Which we haven't even touched.
You know, there's so many themes with this book that, like, we could just talk more on, you know, like forever on, like colonization, right? Mm-hmm. You have the colonization of Ceres's planet. You also have this idea of a government not caring for their own people and letting them fight for themselves while hoarding the wealth and silver and protection away from their own people. That's the king.
Yep.
There's a lot of like political things going on there. Like each of the siblings are doing their own horrible thing, right? You have, let's talk about this. So the sister, well, I call her Maeve, but that is not her name. Madra. You have Madra, classic colonization, right? You have
Malcolm,
who is, we'll call it genocide, right? Because like all of his people, like he just kills them all to create his army. And then you also have Bernard, that's not his name, begins with a B though. Belgium.
Bella starts with a B, because I was like, why doesn't his name start with an M like the rest? Maybe that would be too obvious.
Begins with a B.
Bellicon.
So Bellicon is, you know, is the one of government suppressing their own people for their own gains. Like there's a lot of political matters at play that's happening in the background that someone mentioned in one of their dislikes, to which I have to say, I'm like, I actually think this is exciting, where it's like, why would you kill one of your villains? And I'm like, well, we got 3 to go, you know, like we got more to go, but it's also like just not about them either. Like there's going to be so much more at play.
Now there's a political game that she's entering into, and now Ceres is queen of a people that have been killed and will continue to kill in order to survive. What are you going to do with that power?
Right? It's responsibility. Like she's going to be the queen of death, essentially. And that means that she'll have an army and that she can go to war. But like, are you going to be that comfortable going to war with people that you are now in charge of, and you're suddenly like, well, I'm willing to risk you? Like that's a hell of a thing where it's like, well, now I'm in charge of them, and I don't know if I want to kill them off right away to battle for something that they don't care about. Right.
Well, and I watched them kill people I know. I watched them kill people that Kingfisher knows, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm really excited for Brimstone, because I think there's going to be a lot of moral, political difficult questions that are going to have to be dealt with.
And I feel like I want to like prep people for that, because I agree. I think, you know, spot on where that's going. And I feel like people might be like, this doesn't feel like the first book. There is so much setup for the political aspect and the moral questions. This entire book Quicksilver is about moral questions and the implications of higher political, structures happening in the background that you're just trying to survive. That is the core of this book.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's going to come to like larger themes in the second book. And I like people may not realize that that's what's going on.
Right. I think the theme of consent's going to come back around because we've also seen it not just in, come up in this idea of sex or fate. We also see it in the sense of Saris took away, what's his name? One of the friends, his war song for Kingfisher.
Yeah.
She took that away unknowingly from him to forge his sword.
That was violating.
That was super violating.
And that is one where she did not know. So there's no, she learned her lesson from that one.
It's so sad.
That is so sad. Well, and then you realize the Quicksilver is all related to the god.
Yes. Yep. Which is even more violating.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, and the reason why I bring that up is because I'm sure there are going to be questions of consent as a leader making decisions for a people and what they have to do, whether they like it or not. So I think I'm just so excited because it is a very complex narrative, but it's all setting up for, I can only imagine how complex the next book is going to be.
And I mean, people also with like other points of the plot, like I was just going through some of the notes that, some people were saying that they're not a fan of. And again, this is something that I normally have a lot of issues with, where it's like main female leads that are, human, but suddenly can fight just as well as the rest of them and everything. And it's like, okay, you train for not even 20 years, we'll call it 10 years, and suddenly you're just as good. And that is an issue that some people have. And, that is an issue that I'll always kind of have. However, what is the moment that actually made her a badass was when, and people were like, oh, she can really fight, was when she was wielding Kingfisher's dad's sword and time slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she's this badass who can fight, but she survived because of magic that we don't even know what magic she tapped into, right?
Right.
We don't even know what that is a clue for the next book. And I flag that because I always have issues when it comes to like suddenly you're just as good as 1,000-year-old warrior. Like, okay. But the thing is, she wasn't as good as this. She's good, but she's not as good as 1,000-year-old warrior. It was this sword that slowed down time that made it good.
Yeah, I mean, and let's think about the fight on the bank of the river. Ren was with her and was either killing the vampire horde before they could get to her or damaging them, injuring them so that she could finish them off.
Yes.
That is not the same as holding your own.
Absolutely.
Also, they're half-rotten corpses. If she had gone up against 100 Fae on her own, that's not believable.
Exactly. She is going up against half-rotting corpses that have already been injured, and she just needs to finish them off.
Yes.
I am all for ragging on characters like where I'm like, how can they fight so well? Like they're just like they're not as good. But to your point, she is not fighting 1,000-year-old warriors.
Mm-hmm.
She's not even like doing the full-on fighting from start to finish. She's doing the finish part, which is still impressive. It's still good. Yeah. It makes her a badass. But it also, for me, resolves the issue of like, oh, so we just get another badass woman who we're going to just like forget about it. And then you have the magic at play that like we never come back to. But like, again, that's a breadcrumb. That's a breadcrumb. I see you, Callie. I see that breadcrumb.
Yes. I think there's so many things that she's left for us to see come full circle in the next book and probably a third book if there is a third book.
Yeah. And this got picked up for a movie.
Yeah.
I do wonder if, I mean, it must be public. So Netflix picked it up, but it's under a certain production company within Netflix. And what makes that hard is like greedy Netflix, a bunch of men saying, women will come to this. And like, I think this would be a great movie. I'm excited for it.
Yeah. But the amount of CGI that's necessary, that's expensive stuff.
Yeah. So I hope they do well. I hope we all support and we go watch because it is a great book. I have a lot of things that I had to like sit on the first time and really think about and process. I need to also go look at the fan art because from what I remember, I would like there to be more diversity from what I remember of the cast. But that's my note for everything,
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, before we end, we have to talk about little Osha and the significance of Osha.
Yeah, go ahead. It's so sweet.
It is very sweet. I love how it's this hidden little gem from the beginning.
Yeah.
And when we get information about it, it's sweet, but then we get more information later and you just want to cry because...
Wait, what's the more information later that makes me want to cry?
So you first learn...
He tells us it's a weak little butterfly.
Right. That only, is alive basically for a day.
And your lifespan's so short, you're basically this little butterfly.
Yeah. But then later he tells a story how people will climb to protect it.
Yep.
And then I think at a separate time he tells her that Osha means sacred one.
Oh, yeah. It is. Okay, yeah.
So you get it in drips and drabs, and you always think the story's done, but there's always more layers.
But there's more layers, and it just keeps going. Yeah. I love the nickname Osha. I love the strength. I mean, it also kind of gives, which comes back down to Callie being smart. Like, do you like my frustration? I'm like, Callie, you're so smart.
She is so smart.
You have this idea of like the wings of a butterfly changing fate. Like there's a thing where a butterfly flaps its wings and then across the world a hurricane happens.
Yep.
That is the same concept here.
Yep.
Of fate, right?
Yep.
One little motion, one little thing of fate happens and you have this huge ripple effect going on.
She's so smart.
And it's just such a clever way of incorporating it. And it's just like, here's this concept of fate, which again, like I haven't even said this for the first time. You have this concept of fate where I feel like that might have been one of her original themes of this. I have an idea of fate. What if God's messed around? I would like to imagine that's one of the first things. And I could probably guess that maybe the butterfly effect came from there.
Yeah, I could totally see that. I could totally see her being like, I want to write a book about the butterfly effect.
Yeah.
But I want to make it romantasy. And I want to, like, I can see it being a building block of this. And it's, there's a reason why the book has so many butterflies on it.
Did you put the butterfly behind you on purpose?
No, that was actually there because it's one of my butterflies from Romantasy Con. It's been there since I got home.
Oh, it's cute.
But it's perfect.
Because you had the book next to it and you had the butterfly and I was like, you're so much better than me. I have this wallpaper I need to tear down. I actually have vision and idea and I'll tell you about it. But even to the nickname, there are layers of meaning behind it.
Yep. I love it.
Yeah. And I can't wait to do a third reread. You know what I mean? Like this is one of those that I'm excited to read on. And, if we're lucky, maybe one day we get to talk to Callie herself. If we're lucky. And
if we're lucky.
Like, hey, Callie, tell me more. Is this? What other things did I miss?
Yeah. Excuse us while we hydrate and you listen to this ad.
Over the last few years, my health has been a big priority, but in order to do that, I want to treat my body with kindness.
For my personal journey, that means understanding the way my body works because not every body operates the same.
Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. All you have to do is breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you're going to know what's going on with your metabolism, which is amazing and scientific, and I'm so fascinated that it can tell whether I'm burning fats or carbs, and I can really focus on how I want to build my health and nutrition that day.
What's great is you can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals, so you know exactly what's going on in your body in real time.
I love the Lumen app because it gives you tips on how to keep on top of your health game, and it really lets you see what your body's doing.
Lumen gives you recommendations to improve your metabolic health, and that includes a personalized nutrition plan based on that day and what the Lumen is picking up.
It can also track your cycle as well as the onset of menopause and adjust your recommendations to keep your metabolism healthy through hormonal shifts.
What I think is great about it, it brings awareness to what's going on so you can make more informed choices when you're deciding what you're going to eat.
And I really need informed choices when I'm on my period. Spring back into your health and fitness by going to lumen.me/booktalk to get 15% off your Lumen.
That is lumen.me/booktalk. BOOKTOK for 15% off your purchase.
Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode.
Llévate más de lo que esperas todos los días con el nuevo McValue en McDonald's. Ahora puedes comprar uno y sumarle otro por $1. Así que cuando tu equipo favorito enfrente a sus rivales, enfrenta tus antojos con $5 Meal Deals. Y si estás corriendo para alcanzar el desayuno, corre al app para llevarte ofertas antes del cutoff. Tú decides, y con McValue, tu decisión siempre rinde más. Precios y participación pueden variar. BOGO $1 válido para un producto de igual o menor valor. Debe estar registrado en Rewards para ofertas en el app.
At Capella University, you can learn at your own pace with our FlexPath learning format. Take 1 or 2 courses at a time and complete as many as you can in a 12-week billing session. With FlexPath, you can even finish the bachelor's degree you started in 22 months for $20,000. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu. Fastest 25% of students. Cost varies by pace, transfer credits, and other factors. Fees apply.
Is anyone out there?
Another salesperson enduring the endless search. Exhausting. If you want to get right to the right conversations, you need LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Whether you're looking for new leads or strengthening existing relationships at your top accounts, get right to the right conversations with LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Try LinkedIn Sales Navigator now with a free 60-day trial at linkedin.com/trial. That's linkedin.com/trial.
Terms and conditions apply!
I loved Lorith.
Lorith was great.
Lorith was another solid background, like, supporting character that I just, I have so much hope for him. Like, there's so many things coming up, like the tension between him and the witch, like, I'm excited to see the witch's dynamic. I'm excited now that we're going to get more with the healer, now that it's not like is Kingfisher hooking up with her, even though I like that wasn't a plot either. It was just more of like a slight insecure thought that she didn't entertain.
Yeah.
Or let it hold her back, which again, goes to the maturity.
Yep.
But let's talk about one of the other women in the book who, again, normally I have issues with when women are betrayed, when you don't get a lot of women, and you don't get a lot of representation of women in here. And the one you do get is a huge bitch. And that is Danya.
So, yes, we can say she's a bitch. I don't blame her for being mad at Kingfisher.
Yeah.
She doesn't know the truth. Nobody knows the truth of why he left, why he did what he did. And the fact that her family sword gets broken, remade, and given to someone else. And I know that was not the intention.
I'd be pissed.
She has a right to be pissed.
Yeah.
And then for her to lose her hand?
Yeah.
It's a lot. I wonder if we're going to get more of her in the future.
I think we will. I think this is going to be one of those where, again, this is me having faith in Callie because it's not without intention, right? And one of our listeners compared Danya to Kaltain. And that's a fair comparison. Kaltain from Throne of Glass. And the first time I read Kaltain, Throne of Glass, I was like, this woman is a bitch. I do not like her, right? And same thing, Danya, I was like, screw you. Like, I don't like you. But let's take a beat and let's remove my own internalized misogyny. One, I appreciate that she wasn't like, I slept with Kingfisher and he's my ex-boyfriend, right?
Yeah.
What she is a warrior. Would we have as much dislike for someone if they were a male warrior who's just as revved up?
Yeah. No, we probably wouldn't.
We would just be like, well, he's just a fighter. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's an ass, but he's allowed to be mad.
Yeah.
Danya is allowed to be mad.
Yeah. Does she handle it the best? No.
No.
Is she nice? No. But does she owe Cerys her niceness?
Nope. I don't think so.
I agree. She doesn't know her. I mean, obviously there's classism here and there's a lot of other issues that she has. It's she's not without fault. You know, she's throwing around humans, disgraces the witches, and she has this whole other issue of falling within rank and respect and class. That's not good, but let's point out the specific issues.
Right. She's a hothead with issues that are systemic throughout her society.
Yep.
And she hasn't learned to combat those internalized false narratives. That's a lot of people.
I mean, if she's good enough to hang out with Kingfisher, Lorith, Ren, these guys that we really like this is a cool group of guys. I really, would love to go to a pub, hang out with them, hit on them all. And yet with Danya, yeah, again, she's a hothead, kind of a bitch, but like, are we too harsh on women and not letting them be bitches? So, like, give grace a little bit. Like, support women's rights and women's wrongs.
That's right. That's right. I mean, if we can get over Kingfisher's surly attitude and how poorly he does treat Saris at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't think we understand her yet. We don't know enough about her to judge her yet.
No. I mean, I think we have enough to rightly judge certain things. Again, her classism is not good. We will not say that this is an innocent character. But we also have enough information to realize that she's also been done dirty as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree.
And that's fair. You know, like the two things can be true, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can she be a bitch and can she have like a lot of issues where it's like, that's bad? Yes. But can she also have things that were like, actually, that's valid. I'd be upset as well if my father's or my family's sword gets, you know, taken away from me and rebuilt and given someone else, and now it has special magic powers.
Yeah, I would be pissed.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm happy that a listener brought that up, because, and maybe that's why I don't have as many issues with Danya as I normally would when I have like, why is the main female, like the one other woman we really see, she's not great, and it's because her tension points did not come as a threat to a man, as another sexual partner or a relationship. Danya was a warrior who has issues, right? She's not competition.
Right.
I think I'm more comfortable when I see, if a woman's going to be an asshole, let her be an asshole. Don't let her be an asshole because she's, well, he's my man. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Exactly.
I'm over that. Bring that into book 2, but not book 1. As we wrap up, we we talked about him. We've hinted at him. We've discussed plenty around him. We have yet to really talk about Kingfisher. Some things that people said as a negative, his name. I like it. It's so weird.
It is. I wonder if Fisher of Kings is significant because he does get called that as well.
Yeah, you're right. There's going to be significance to his name.
Or King of Fishers. I can't remember. I'm going to have to... There's going to be significance that we don't understand. One of our listeners did point out that Kingfisher is a type of bird with colorful feathers.
He gets wings on his chest.
And does swan dives and is very dramatic. He does get wings on his chest. I think there is significance to his name that we do not yet understand.
Yeah, agreed. It's a bold name. It's a bold name choice.
It is a bold name. It is memorable. That's what you want for your book boyfriend. His name can't be Bob or Larry.
Or Simon the Sword.
I so appreciated that.
I forgot that that's what he names his sword. And earlier in the book, when it was like, when she made one for Lorith, I was like, I think I would name mine Brian. And then the Carrion happens. And I was like, wait a minute. Oh, shit. Continue. Kingfisher.
So he does fit the shadow daddy trope.
Yes.
How do we feel about that?
He is trope-tastic, but original. Like,
right.
He's got that undying, I loved you from the moment I saw you, but at the same time, like, he kind of was like hyped to love her by his mom.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's like one of those things where, you know, people were talking about that instant love. And yes, that's one I normally have an issue with, but he's been told, like, this is the woman you're going to love. Like, his mother's written about her. He has an entire ass book about her.
And he's waited 1,000 years knowing she would come one day.
Yeah, right? Like, I'd feel pretty in love, too.
Obsessed?
I'd be very obsessed. Like, you know, I message a guy when it's like a few good messages on a dating app, and I'm like, we're meant to be, right? Imagine having a whole ass book dedicated to a person that you know you're meant to be with. So, you know, the instant love. So when I say trope-tastic, like, yeah, you have this like instant love thing that is a trope, but it's understandable.
Yeah.
And it's reasonable.
Yeah.
And then you have him being a shadow daddy, right? Like, literally controlling of shadows. It's hard because, like, what a sexy gift.
Yeah. Well, and I think, part of my question is, would that be his magic if not for the Quicksilver inside him? Whoa. Do we know?
Sorry, he broke my brain. Like, if he did not have the Quicksilver, would he be in charge of shadows? So one of my initial frustrations in my first read, which I'm making room for, understanding better through my second read is the lack of understanding of the magic system.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is magic, but no magic system.
Mm-hmm.
We know that Ren can do some magic. We know everyone can do kind of different magics and stuff. We know some of the swords have magic, but there's no system in place.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's because it's not there.
Yeah.
I think we just don't have it yet. There's just so much more information, and it might not have been relevant for Saris to know that at that point. If she's going into a world, it may be too much to be like, okay, but where does your shadow come from? And where does it go to? And if you're taking my clothes away, are you pulling it from somewhere else, or are you creating, you know what I mean? There's a lot of questions that I think book 2 will answer. And I love your question of, does the Quicksilver inside him impact his own magic?
Right. And I don't know the answer. My gut says yes.
I agree.
But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
And also, the god of chaos has picked Kingfisher as his champion. Is it only because did
he come that way, or was he gifted it?
Yeah.
Sorry, was that your question? Did I jump in?
Yeah, kind of. No, you articulated it better than I was going to.
Okay. Yeah. Was it part of the package or bequeathed? Yeah, I think that's a great question. Kingfisher came to him, and we know Kingfisher came to him when he was very young.
Mm.
That's a great question. Was he made the champion because of the gifts he already had, or was he made champion because it's you're kind of an asshole and I like it? You're a stubborn youth.
Right. Or because his body could handle being given gifts, because there are a lot of questions that I have that I hope are uncovered in the next book, any books thereafter, because I think there's a lot to learn. And I agree. I don't think that information about a magic system could have been interwoven into this book when Saris had so much to learn about this world, about her alchemy gifts.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, especially since the fact that the god of chaos says, I will turn you, Saris, into something new. And he's he turned her into something that's never been done before. Yes, that they were turning her into a vampire, but then the god of chaos goes, but let me sprinkle a little bit of other chaos and make you completely different. So why wouldn't the god of chaos say, Kingfisher, I'm going to give you something new or different, right? The shadow gift.
Yeah.
When it comes to book boyfriends, one, love his dedication to her. I'm a big fan of that. What I also like is sometimes I feel like certain books, SJM is guilty of this, so I'm gonna call her out because she won't listen to this. They over harp on something. I'm gonna do this on Fourth Wing too. It's when Xaden and Violet, where they're just he never stops me from doing whatever I want. And it's just great. I'm happy it doesn't stop you from doing whatever you want. But it goes over and over, and we say it and we mention it over and over and over again. And then it's or the same thing with it's all about my choice. And Reese gives me my choice and everything is about my choice. But then you have moments where he takes away her choice. And there's just these things about and this is why my shadow daddy is such a great guy. And this is the thing. And it's just oh my God, you're saying the same thing over and over, and it's kind of contradictory of what we're seeing. I think the reason why I appreciate Kingfisher as a book boyfriend shadow daddy is that Saris is super into him. She's never
tries to justify why he's perfect.
Yeah, he's never been perfect.
No.
I think that's the other thing. Saris is super into him, obviously. Crazy horny for the guy, loves him, hasn't said it, but she does. I think she'd be the first person to tell you that he's not perfect.
Oh yeah, absolutely. She has so many issues with him.
Yeah.
And that's what I think makes the relationship refreshing. And I think also why it's easy to miss the signs that they're fated mates.
Yeah.
Because it isn't an instant, oh. I mean, she's hot for him.
Yeah.
But it's not, yeah.
And she's willing to work with him. And that's the other thing where it's just because they're fated mates, and they are fated mates who can reject it, right? They're fated mates who can walk away and saying no, thank you, do not want a part of this. So there's still choice within the matter, right? And it's never without her being completely, even when she's kind of oh, fuck it all, I'm involved, I'll stay here for him. It's not without some maturity behind it. okay, I don't want to go back to my home. I do want to get my brother and my friend and I want to come back, but like I am happy here. It's still not like la-di-da, we're going to live happily ever after. It's like, okay, I'm willing to pretend like tonight let's not fight for tonight. And even like in the moment where she thinks like, even though, you know, Kingfisher has this idea of like, I'm going to go save my sister on my own and fuck you all, right? She has her own thing of like, okay, let's go battle. Let's go do our, you know, save the day and then come back and reassess and get the lay of the land of our future. And that is another one where it's like, even though she's accepted the mating bond, I don't think that the attitude of like, okay, but we really need to get the lay of the land of our relationship and see where we land here. It still feels real and valid. And the reason, even though we're supposed to be talking about Kingfisher and we're talking about Saris, is that Kingfisher never, I don't know how to say, like he just doesn't seem as like aggressive as like a Xaden or as Rhys. And I just think that those like overly aggressive, like, I will move the heavens and earth, I will destroy every single thing for you, and I am, you know, just like really aggressive. And like, not that Kingfisher wouldn't, but I find his love a little bit more subtle than that. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, for me, one thing I like about him and I like about this book is that he tries so hard to make her hate him. He tries so hard to not allow the relationship to blossom. And that, I think, is refreshing because he was doing a good job. He was doing a good job of it.
Yeah.
And you can see how, against his better judgment, he's falling in love anyway. What is it when she's in the bathtub at the war camp and he's like, basically, well, you're just a little thief, aren't you?
Yeah.
And
is it her heart? It's his heart.
It's his heart?
He's like, I guess you're right. You are a little thief. And it's because, and it's because she was talking about, well, of course I want to stay here and save your people. Like, I don't want any of your people to fall victim to these vampires. Like, of course I want to do that. And he was like, fuck you, little thief. Making me fall in love with you. Every time. And I think what's also different is that he's a different type of sad boy. Like, all of these shadow daddies are like sad emo boys. And yes, you have that, like, you know, Xaden's not like this happy-go-lucky guy.
No.
Obviously.
Neither is Rhys.
And neither is Rhys, but like I'm trying to find like when in a world of shadow daddy tropes, in a world of book boyfriends that are in many ways copy and paste, I'm guilty of it too. Why is it I feel refreshed with him?
Because he listens to Saris. And I'm just thinking like with this idea of consent, he listens to her.
Yeah.
And respects that, even though it's against his will sometimes.
I feel like with him, there's so much processing that he's going through in his own journey. Again, he is fresh from over 100 years of abuse, and he's going through his own journey and trying to understand it. And I think he can see how that impacts negatively his relationship with Saris, and then the way he course corrects and tries to grow from it. And I feel like it's the same way that I feel like Rhys has more substance than like a Xaden or something, you know, like because you have that layer of trauma and abuse and stuff, that maybe it's because I feel like there's more substance to Kingfisher also.
Yeah, I agree. I think there are a lot of parallels between this book, A Court of Mist and Fury, and A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Yeah, yeah.
There are a lot of similar beats.
Yeah.
For this. And I think this book was better than Mist and Fury.
Wait, everyone's screaming at you right now. Everyone is just like, you know what though? One, Mist and Fury will always have a special place in my heart. So, you know, and everything. Of course. However, one of the reasons why Mist and Fury is so great is because of it wasn't Tamlin.
Yeah.
That's why Mist and Fury
is... The gotcha. It was the gotcha that makes it great.
Yes.
This is great without a gotcha.
Agreed. I also feel like one thing that makes Kingfisher so relatable is that we understand that the trauma he went through impacted his personality so much so that his friends are trying to give him a breather, and they're like, that's not him. He used to laugh. And he's coming back from that. And I think what makes him that very realistic side of him is that he's coping through his own, like, who am I, my identity, after going through all that.
Yeah.
And you can see he's navigating, going back to his mother's hometown, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to go back there, trying to hang out with his friends. Like, he's trying to navigate that. But at the same time, like, slowly losing his mind because of the Quicksilver, trying to cope and make fun of that also. And then having this human. So, like, there's just so much more conflict there. And it's, to your point, that's what made Reese so interesting too, is because there's so much conflict of, well, she's in love with this other man and I don't know what to do. And, I'm trying to be there for her, but I'm falling in love with her and I'm her mate and she doesn't know. Like, that's the similarity of, like, she doesn't know I'm her mate. And what do I do? How do I tell her?
There are many. It's not just that. They both wake up from nightmares and are comforted.
Yep.
Right?
Except Kingfisher wasn't a nightmare. It was his Quicksilver buzzing,
right.
But it's the same.
It's the same kind of feel.
Beats. Yeah.
Everlane is like Moore.
Yeah.
Lorith is like Cassian.
Yeah. Or kind of, yeah. I mean, Cassian is kind of similar. I don't know. Like, for a second, I was like going to say Carrion, but Carrion's just his own, like, unique, wonderful baby boy.
I would say Carrion's unique, but a human.
Yeah.
And then it's like A Court of Thorns and Roses, because she dies and then comes back something not human.
Yeah. Something unlike anything before.
Yeah. There are other beats, but I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah. But it's not a bad thing. You know what I mean?
Not.
I think that you can still have similar beats. And to your point, what's part of what made Mist and Fury so amazing is ACOTAR. You do not get the wonder, amazing, I can't believe I'm so obsessed with Mist and Fury if you did not have ACOTAR beforehand.
Yep. You can't get.
You can't get the whole setup there.
Yep.
And this love story does not require a misdirect of a relationship.
Yep. Agreed.
Wow. Callie, are you listening?
We love you.
We do love you. I hope she likes us. I forgot, when this episode comes out, we have a giveaway with this book. We have a signed copy of Quicksilver. We have one or two.
We have one.
We got one copy of Quicksilver to give away. So please follow us on Instagram. You'll get more information on what we're doing there. There's probably going to be a follow us on YouTube, Instagram situation, but we will announce the giveaway and what it requires on Instagram. That might require you to go to our YouTube. That might require you to go to our TikTok. Who knows? We'll see. But if you would like, can you tell we haven't planned it yet?
I think we re-record that part.
Yeah. But if we don't, do it.
Check out the description of the show notes, the YouTube, the Instagram.
Yeah.
The explanation will be there.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Book Talk for Book Talk with Jac and Amy. We encourage you to rate and subscribe to our show on your preferred podcast listening platform. Next week, we'll be discussing Nine-Tailed by Jayci Lee.
We would love to hear your thoughts based on today's conversation. If you'd like to submit your take on any of the books we plan to discuss later this spring, please be sure to follow us on Instagram, where we ask for listener submissions.
If you're enjoying the podcast, please visit our website, booktalkforbooktalk.com, to view our latest merch and learn about supporting the show through Patreon or Venmo. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk.
Bye.
Thank you to all our Patreon supporters, with a special shout out to our November 2024 Trophy Wives. Thank you, Amanda, Anu Berry, Olivia, Allison, Anya, Fiction Fan, Shelby, Liv, Heather, Amber, Veronica, Anne, Jackie, Nicole, Amelade, Jessica, Helen, Danica, Carissa, Colleen, Alexa, Sam, and Allison. To learn more about how to become a Trophy Wife, visit patreon.com/booktalkforbooktalk. Thank you, Trophy Wives.